Great. Well, welcome. Hello, everybody. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break because I think it might be the middle of the night where I'm from. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. It's my first time back in Israel since 1992. So it's very exciting to see all of the changes and all of the technology being developed in this country. So I'm here to tell you about a very exciting program that is part of the Feed the Future, the U.S. government-wide Feed the Future initiative. And I'm going to do a little click here. Let me see if I can get this straight. No? Towards the computer? Yeah, you're really testing me today. Like this? This way? No? I need a joke. Yeah, this goes this way. No, thank you. Okay. So this is a picture that there's one or two of you here from Washington D.C., right? No, we make jokes that this is the red line, the subway line we commute on in Washington D.C. But I'm sure wherever you're from, you've got a similar, you've been on a similar kind of train. So what I want to talk a little bit about is why we're here, and I think we all know that there's a huge problem looming. Too many people, not enough food. We're looking at world population growth to be, as it says, more than 9 billion people by the year 2050. And we have a problem in agriculture, as you all know. We have fields like this, and we have a growing middle class in the world, which is terrific news in one sense, and in another sense it means that the middle class will consume about 30% more food. Smallholder farmers, as you know, are producing most of the food in developing countries. And this field shows what the problem is that many smallholders are only producing on their land about 10 to 20% of what they're capable of producing. They're not adapting new technology well. We haven't figured out the way to transfer technology to smallholders. And food production, particularly in developing countries, is expensive and it's unreliable. So this is an example of what we're looking at. And as you can see, and a very antiquated, ancient technology, the hoe, hard work, low productivity, and a myth that there are mostly women doing a lot of this hard manual labor in the fields. And there's a myth that there's plenty of people around to do this kind of work, and that's actually not true and becoming less true. And in addition, women have many other responsibilities, as you know, children, running the household, other things that take up their time. So becoming an increasing problem. So the ultimate goal is for us to get to here. And you see a woman with what we call a small low-till planter, which CIMMYT produced. And I know we've got some people here from the CG Center. CIMMYT is the International Maize and Wheat Improvement CG Center. So this is where we're trying to go to. And let me back up a little bit and just tell you the program that I represent. It's called Feed the Future, Partnering for Innovation. And we're a program of USAID under the Bureau of Food Security. We're actually a cooperative agreement that was awarded to a private company called FinTrack that I work for, that runs this program. And the reason that we exist is because USAID a few years ago under Administrative Shah, as many of you know, made a call to work with the private sector and said that we're only going to get to here if private sector companies bring their technologies to developing countries and find a way to make them commercially viable in those markets. And so we were set up to be an interface, to be more private sector friendly, to move quickly, to make investments in companies that have technologies that can help smallholder farmers. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, and I know we'll have time for discussion about it as well. So I'll keep barreling through the slides. Now this picture this is where we want to get to, and I'm particularly proud of this picture for a couple of reasons. One, I took it, and I'm kind of a novice to photography, so you know. But about 6 weeks ago, my program ran a workshop in Arusha, Tanzania, with a group of drip irrigation distributors from around the African continent. And the whole premise of the workshop was how can you get your product downsized so that it can be afforded by the smallholder market. And then once they can afford it, how do you help them adapt the technology and use it? And there are many, many challenges, but this group was working really hard to find ways to do it. Now this field is an example of a field. FinTrack has another USAID project in Tanzania that's called TAP. Every project, USAID project, has a catchy name. So TAP is Tanzania Agriculture Productivity Program. and at TAP, what they do is go in and work intensively with farmers on adapting good agricultural practices. So you can see here the drip lines, which will be familiar to many of you, and the raised beds, the nicely spaced rows, other things that were not being used, some of the simplest technologies that are helping to greatly improve the farmers' productivity and help them get more produce to market in a more timely way. So a little more about us. This is Pauline, and she's our brand, our spokesperson. You can see, actually, the thing I like the most about Pauline is, can you see what she has under her arm there? She has so she's in a greenhouse, but she has a cell phone under her arm. So that's why she's high tech. Partnering for Innovation is a different kind of program. The grants that we provide, instead of your typical government development grants, are specifically to private sector companies to help them move their technologies down market. And our grants are highly competitive, based on performance. Every grant is tied to a milestone plan. So we usually give our grantee some time to develop a marketing and business plan up front so they can get some money up front and get running. And then they've got business milestones that come really quickly, and that includes production milestones, sales, and other business-related milestones. We also give them costs to help them implement things like farmer training and extension programs, which we find are critical to the success of any kind of technology transfer. Another thing we do is we're working with USAID missions. We're just starting this part of our program. And I should have mentioned, in September we'll have been a real program for just 2 years. And the second big part of our program, in addition to the commercialization grants, is working with the USAID missions in Feed the Future countries that have their own funds and need to actually invest those in private sector companies in their countries. So we go in and help them run competitions to invest in those companies. And we're just starting a program this week in Mozambique, and we'll be in Malawi next, and who knows. And on to the next. Why we think solving hunger is good business. Basically, the other thing about our program is that our application is short. We make grants quickly. We fund only off-the-shelf technology, so we love research and development. And some of the most fun I've had is going to some of the USAID innovation labs at the different American land-grant universities and learning about all of the great research going on there. And we like to tap into that as much as possible, but we only fund it if it's been market tested. And ready for implementation and ready for commercialization. And again, I mentioned that we look for sales targets, and funding is based on reaching milestones. So the next thing about our program, in our about 18 months of grant making, we are working in 11 countries, funding 14 different technologies. We've invested almost $7 million, and the other part of our program is that we ask for co-investment of our grantees. So we're investing at this point $7 million and have another round of grants that just went into review. We call it leveraging $3 million from grantees. And one important point to make is that we're not looking for a one-to-one leverage, because when I talk more about our investments and our partnerships, you'll see that we're not actually, we're investing in a lot of cases in very small companies. We've talked a lot about startups and other kinds of business, and actually we have a few small NGOs that we're investing in, so their capabilities to leverage at that level are not as high, and that's okay. The big key to our success in our grants is having the right on-the-ground partners, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, but our grantees have 48 partners right now and counting, and our ultimate goal with the current grants is to reach 350,000 smallholders with better technology. So I'm talking a bit about the kinds of investments we're making. About 20% of our portfolio right now is in drip irrigation, and you all will know more than anybody how important that technology is, and you'll be hearing from Natty Barak, who is one of our partners, about that important technology, so I won't say too much more about that. On-farm storage, grain processing, animal and aquaculture productivity. We have a fun grant in that. I'll tell you a couple of fun, really fascinating grants. Inputs and seeds. I'll talk a little bit about a couple of those. And climate risk mitigation. There's some very interesting insurance and other products coming out around that we're seeing a lot of proposals for. So global activities. So this is right now where we're working, and this is our map if you can read it. And I'm going to highlight just a few really interesting partnerships we have going on. A company called AGCO, major multinational corporation, is going to be working with farmers in Zambia to reduce post-harvest loss. Smallholders in Zambia produce 80% of the maize, and AGCO and its on-the-ground partners have something called the bag-to-bulk activity, and they are looking at selling metal grain storage silos to grain traders. And they also hope to reach about 12,000 smallholder farmers with these technologies. Another one that's very interesting and has many, many complicated levels of partnerships is AATF, the African Agricultural Technology Foundation. And they're working with private seed companies in 3 different Feed the Future countries in Africa to commercialize a seed coating called Strigaway. Strigaway is a coating that's resistant to the parasitic weed striga, also known as witchweed, which is a widespread threat to maize crops. AATF is a large NGO, as you may know. They're partnering with BASF, which is a large multinational chemical company, which actually invented the coating, the chemical coating, and they have more than 6 local seed companies on the ground that are branding and distributing Strigaway. So that's an exciting project. Another one I'll mention, just because it's an example of how far-flung, how small the world has gotten, I guess, or how far-flung technology is. We're working with a small Hawaii-based company called Manna Technologies that is introducing its specific pathogen-free shrimp broodstock to Bangladesh. And I can talk more about any of these at the Q&A period. Now, a couple of case studies just to show you some of our partnerships that have been in motion for a while and how they're working out. So this is interesting. UdderCheck is the technology. The company is called Porta Science. It's a small New Jersey-based company that has been very successful in the U.S. And when I say small, I mean tiny little company. They invented a dipstick to detect mastitis in cows, and they came to us for funding, had never worked outside the U.S., and we funded them to enter the market in Rwanda, partly because Rwanda, like many governments, is prioritizing milk production and has something called its Girinka program, which is providing 1 cow per household. In addition, mastitis is causing about a $400 per cow annual loss in productivity in Rwanda. So Porta Science recognized all of this and needed help entering the Rwandan market. The great thing about their dipstick is it's only 36 cents, and farmers can use it themselves. It detects the mastitis early so that it can be treated and can prevent thousands of dollars of lost milk per cow, basically. And I'll say a word about the partnerships. Key for a company in New Jersey that never worked in Rwanda are the partners. And they are working closely with the African Breeders Service Total Cattle Management to reach smallholder farmers and train them and get their product to them. They have partnerships with local milk cooperatives. And there's a USAID Rwanda dairy project that they're also working closely with. The ultimate goal right now, the dipstick is produced in the U.S., and the ultimate goal is to get it manufactured in country and then to take the model to other countries. Another one that's a favorite of mine is a pearl millet processing suite. And this, again, a small NGO, budget less than $1 million a year, based out of Minneapolis. It was founded actually by some retired General Mills engineers a number of years ago who solve all sorts of problems around the world in water and food. And they developed a pearl millet processing suite. So this NGO basically want to bring this suite to Senegal. And then again, this is a country that they were not familiar with or had not worked in, and were not equipped to, a market they were not equipped to enter, but a technology that was very appropriate for the market. It's about $300 for their thresher, improves post-harvest grain recovery by up to 20%, and reduces on-farm processing time by 90%. The one big key to this technology is that who processes pearl millet but women, and this is a huge boon for women. Feed the Future, Partnering for Innovation, and we, like USAID likes us to say the whole name, is about a $400,000 investment for us. Some key elements that are making this project successful is that CTI hired an in-country manager, a local who knows the people, who's from the country, who is negotiating with farmers and also with local companies. They're in negotiations with Sysmar, a major Senegalese manufacturer of agricultural equipment, to actually manufacture the processor in country, which will save a lot of costs in terms of shipping and customs and other things, and also build the local economy. They're working with the Ministry of Women's Affairs and many women's NGOs and microfinance organizations to try to make this affordable for women. And there's a wonderful video on our AgTech Exchange, which I'll talk about in a minute, that is a place where we showcase not only the technologies we're funding, but all of the great technologies that you and everybody else is working on. So next slide. This is the home screen for the AgTech Exchange. And this is pretty new. We just launched it a few weeks ago. And so we're looking for ways to help and engage. Part of the reason that Feed the Future started our program was for it to be a learning program. So we're not set up just to make grants, but also to learn from them and to make mistakes, which we're making many, and learning a lot from them, and to bring people together to share technologies, and also to bring funders together who are looking for great ideas to invest in. What we find is that there is investment money for these kinds of things, and a lot of times investors don't know where to find the ideas to invest in. So our project is designed to be an online marketplace for that. So I invite you all to join our website, join our online site, blog, share your technologies, and we'll do some other things with it, some facilitated workshops and things through the AgTech Exchange that hopefully can kind of bridge the barrier of time and plane travel so that we can all continue to share knowledge. With that, thank you very much.